Hey everybody, this is Dark Guardsman. We're back with another update on the game I'm currently working on. I know some of you probably want to hear more about Minecraft than this, but we're going to keep going with it because this is going to turn into something eventually. So we actually have got some more improvements to the game. Nothing really super notable, but I know you've probably noticed the health bar system in the top corner here. So the game is going to feature 3 different health mechanics. It's going to have hull, armor, and shield. These are all going to pretty much be treated as HP, so they can be seen as that way, but they will behave a little bit different depending on the weapon that is attacking them. Energy weapons are not going to be as effective against shields as ballistic weapons will be, and ballistic weapons will have a higher chance of deflecting off of armor. So when you're attacking a target that has heavy armor and you're using like kinetic weapons, things that are designed to kind of pierce and stuff, they're going to bounce off the armor a lot more often. This is kind of to simulate the concept of sloped armor and everything else. The reason for making energy weapons less effective against shield just has to do with I've been playing Stellaris a lot lately, and that's kind of how the game does it, and I kind of like it. It does make sense. You're gonna the idea that you're hitting an energy with another energy is that it's probably not going to work as effectively. So what I've decided to do is like, yeah, kinetic weapons make kind of sense hitting a shield, because what your ideal is you're doing is you're overloading the shield. That's the whole concept, is you keep hitting it with something really heavy, moving really, really fast, and you just burn out a whole bunch of energy out of the shield at once, where energy weapon may not do that, because then most energy weapons are relaying like either direct electrons or heat or something like that, which a shield should be able to get rid of just fine. But then what we're going to do is have armor take more damage from energy weapons. So if you hit armor with a laser, you're basically melting the armor. There's no way care for deflecting and everything else. Of course, we're going to have special modifiers as well, so there'll be different mechanics that'll work in different ways to cause that to not take as much damage or take more damage depending on what's going on. We'll have some weapons that'll also pierce shields that'll just completely ignore them, and other weapons that'll pierce straight through armor and do hull damage depending on what they do. Trying to give you like a little bit of balance going on there. And kind of getting stuff going. Anyways, let me go ahead and show this actually working, because this does actually work. On top of this, we also got spawn mechanics now built up. So what you'll see over here is the enemies will actually spawn. Really simple script, it just spawns the enemy and actually does it. The enemies also have health bars as well, and you can tell the top right corner my health bars actually are modulated. I've just got it set to initial value just so you can see it, because right now nothing does damage to the player, so we can't really show that off. On top of that, I've got a little bit better effects for the weapons, so the weapons do look a lot nicer. And we do now have alternating fire for the cannons. I did show this off in an earlier video, but there was no audio on that video to talk about it. So if we actually do zoom in, and let's see if I can figure out a way to zoom in. Here we go. Yeah, graphics look horrible when you zoom in, and there's nothing that really helps with the scaling. But you can see the alternating fire there. We got the machine gun. Machine gun goes back and forth. In addition to this, which is really hard to actually see, and let me see if I figure out a way to, yeah, there's no way I can actually show this easily. But the weapons do actually track towards the mouse now. So not only does the turret track the mouse, the weapons actually track the mouse as well. So you'll get weapons that'll kind of converge, and you can see how it kind of converges at a single point. Right now I do have to also fix the fact the bullets will collide with each other and destroy each other. I need to fix this for the simple fact that it would be a little annoying if you shoot your own cannon rounds out of the air. But it does actually work really, really well. There was some issues with it, which I'll talk about in a separate video of what I had to fix with this and kind of do with that, because I'll make a nice tutorial video. The same with the health scale. There's something I can do a tutorial video just on that. But the enemy HP bars do work. Really simple bars. I'm going to have to experiment with these, and there's going to be a lot of things that have to be done to fix these, to actually make these work properly. But it does work. You can shoot and hit things, and it's pretty nice. Definitely some movement with this. I gotta add some inaccuracy to the cannons as well to make it more of an interesting thing to play with, and I think I might add some auto tracking, so it'll kind of track the target a little bit as you aim at it, so that way for those who are a little bit less skilled or have a little bit of trouble aiming, that are trying to move fast and aim and do stuff like that, can have a little easier time, because the rotation of the turret does not quite keep up with the movement of the tank. Maybe just increasing the turret's rotation speed might actually fix this, now I'm thinking about it. But it does work really, really well. Another addition that was changed is I did change how the colliders work on the poles down here. So I was showing off in a video that I was colliding with them and hitting them and stuff, and I kind of felt that the collider wasn't quite right, so let's go actually show this off. So we got these poles here, and they're little poles with a rod here. Previously, these were one asset, so it was one asset that you would collide with. Now there are two separate assets actually for this. It's really simple, like little asset. So you have the top bar here, which is actually on the ceiling layer of the asset system, and now you have the pole, which is on the wall asset layer. I need to figure out some way I can customize these colliders here. It doesn't really give you an option for that, but if we can get that customized, it would actually make that hitbox a lot smaller. This way you're not running into it as often, so if you're a little bit on the side of the red line, you don't hit it, which is good now because the whole collision box used to encompass this entire rod, which meant you hit it almost every single time you were going through that system. Though I'm definitely going to have to do some research to figure out if we want to keep the colliders for the rods at all, because if we find out that players don't like them and are hitting them way more than they should be hitting them, then we're not going to basically turn that off and not have that actually in there as a mechanic, because there's no point in having it if there's no point in it doing things. As for the spawners here, they actually are. They're really simple little objects. There we go. Let's see if I can select a couple. I don't really have good selectors. They're really hard to tell you're selecting. It's got a little dot in the middle to kind of show you guys selected. Unity doesn't really give you a good option. You can see it here when you do that. I do have a gizmo on it to render that little red square. That way I can see them in the scene view versus the game view. The code on them is really basic though. The only thing it does is you got a gizmo color, so I can actually change the color of this. I can actually tell what spawn object I have. Maybe I have a spawner that spawns the bigger mobs and I wanted to color it orange. It can input a target. It does have a repeat cycle, so it can repeat spawn, and it has a spawn delay, so I can tell that I want to spawn an object every 10. I will be making a customized version of these that will spawn after you kill an object, just for training stuff, and I'll be making ones that can spawn like 5 or 6 objects, and there'll also be other objects that will control these. So if we have like a wave spawner that spawns like 20 waves, or 20 objects in a wave, we can then put a whole bunch, 20 spawners, have them all spawn an individual object that is then controlled by a master object that spawns that wave and then pushes it forward and it moves it around. Really simple and everything else. The code, if I still have it open. Oh, this is the mouse code, which I'll talk about later. Weapon code. Let me see if I can find the code here for it real quick, just to show that off, because it's kind of simple, and I know a couple people were asking me about this because I was working on this. And I was talking to somebody, and they were like, how do you do spawning? And well, it's incredibly simple. So there's the spawn thing. I've actually made it a little bit more elaborate than it used to be. So I've got an actual system to track the objects I spawn, which I track down here. I also then have a way to remove dead object out of it. So when Unity actually kills an object, it will set it to null. Or it's got its code set up so that way when you go equal to null, it says yes when the object is dead, which is kind of a little bit different. But we have a system here, so we go update, we go through, we go, okay, if you're supposed to spawn, we'll do the spawn logic, then we'll check the loop. If not, we'll decrease it by delta time. So the spawn time is tracked in seconds, no matter if you lag or not, it will be tracked in exact seconds. It'll then reset the spawn thing and spawn an object. It's literally the same code that you use to spawn bullets is what you use to spawn an object. So you spawn an object and I add it to a tracker so I know what I'm doing with it. The plan is to add some gizmos here where I can track what objects spawn from what point, and then maybe add a system like, say for example, we had like a portal that was spawning a whole bunch of robots, and the robots were being commanded from the portal and blew the portal up. All the robots will then go dead. So we can do that with the spawn object tracker, so that's a mechanic that we can do that. Anyways, I'll be back here later with more videos showing this off. Hopefully I'll get some AIs working here soon so we can see some combat going on, and a few other mechanics, like maybe some explosions and different weapons and whatever.